school. We're asking for one more to accommodate the enrollment growth. But we have a lot of elementary students who have needs. They have emotional needs. They may be going through things outside of school that require some service or attention in school. And just like Nicole read in that initial proclamation, the earlier you intervene and provide services to kids who need them, the better it is long term. So that's why the elementary school counselor is there.
Yeah, I have a question about that, Mike. I know, the principals feel this way too, that there's a need for an elementary school counselor at each school. Is it because educators know more about emotional needs of students, or is it there's actually more emotional needs for some reason the way the population is?
That's a great question. I would venture to say it's probably both of those things. Divorce is probably more common now than it was 30 or 40 years ago. I'm guessing. I don't know that for sure.
I think it actually was peaked in the 70s. But
so
anyway, maybe attention to still.
Sure.
Different now.
Anxiety seems to be increasing among our kids, is what I'm told by the counseling staff and the principals. I don't know exactly why that is, but it is. There's a lot of competitive spirit in our school district, even extending down into the elementary years. I don't know if that has to do with anxiety. Certainly there is much more awareness than there ever was before. And whether it was Sandy Hook or other national tragedies that have kind of cast even more attention on that, I'm not sure, but I think there's probably a combination of needs and greater awareness now that we're dealing with.
So Mike, the question that you're asking currently, you said you had two, but now so it's one additional staff member, so you would have one in each of the elementary schools?
That's the elementary school counselor. Yes. Yep.
And there's one additional full-time member, basically.
One additional full-time member at the elementary school level.
With this person, if this question passes.
Yeah, this question calls for 3 counselors.
But for the elementary
one,
additional person.
And then one at the middle school. The middle school person, right now we have what's called a student assistance counselor or student assistance coordinator. That's a person who specializes, there's a special certification for that position. She specializes in substance abuse issues, depression, more serious mental health conditions that our school counselors don't typically deal with on an ongoing basis. We have one in the district now. Back on the first slide of this presentation, when we were looking at the district at 2,900 students, we also had only one. It's an area where we have not added any resources, even though the population that this person is serving has essentially doubled or gone up. Maybe not doubled, but gone up a significant amount. Yes, sir.
Two questions. First, at $80,000 a counselor, is that total cost of the benefits and everything?
Yes, that's benefits included.
Oh. Then the next question is, in our school system, how many teachers do we have as compared to administrators?
We have 330 or so teachers, and we have 27, I think, administrators total.
Total.
Mm-hmm.
So like for this, if people are to vote in support of it, is it, how have you guys established that, the need is there? Like, is it that the people that we currently have just can't see all the kids that want to come talk to them? Or are they doing group counts? Like, what are they doing? Like, how would people know whether they should support this or not?
Well, the principals have been identifying this need for pretty much as long as I can remember, and the parents too, when they've come to speak out at budget meetings and so on. I couldn't cite some magic number for you right now, but the answer is absolutely. The counselors don't feel, the way we have it structured right now is that there's one counselor that is split between Washington Avenue School and Milton Avenue School, and that person can't get to both buildings as regularly or as frequently as she would like. In addition, that person is relatively new, in part as a response to the anti-bullying Bill of Rights passed before last school year, that has put a whole a very long list of regulations on school districts and has given us a whole lot that we have to deal with. So she is our anti-bullying specialist in both of those buildings and has to investigate. By law, we have to have this position, even though it's not funded. Every report that comes our way about potential bullying incident in either of those places.
Yeah, because I guess, I mean, I can see both sides of it, because I know we had the anti-bullying thing, where obviously that's a huge burden on the schools, and it was somewhat controversial with them trying to state passing all this stuff. But, I think some of the things, I don't know if parents might choose to, if people have, insurance and go to certain, outside private counseling. So if, just trying to decide, is the school the place that they should be getting that counseling, or should the parents be taking them, and using their, because most healthcare benefits do allow for that. So it's just, I guess, trying to balance it out. If you guys are saying the need is there, that they would be doing both the bullying aspect of their counseling and picking up these additional things that people are saying that the kids want to come talk about.
That's a good point, and most of frequently our counselors will, we will have a release from a parent so that our counselor can speak with whatever private person is whatever they happen to be doing with the family or the child. So we coordinate the services.
Well, you raised an interesting point. What would you, with business manager, what kind of figure would you put on the cost of this legislature with these unfunded mandates in our system?
Well, for a community like Chatham, pretty much every mandate is unfunded because they give us, so little money, and we send out so much money in the form of state income taxes that it's, this as well as I do, it's staggering. The anti-bullying Bill of Rights alone, probably costs us, I'd say 90. It depends on if you calculate the amount of time that investigation can potentially take. You're talking about 6 figures probably, and we're getting $0 for that in this coming budget. So that's just one example. One example.
The reason I bring it up, I think that it's contingent upon boards like ourselves and yours, which represent the county, that's to fit in. And yours the biggest part of the budget, to push back on these unfunded mandates, because that's what kills it. You sit with a cap, which you're familiar with, and then you get a 6-figure wish list from the state. It gets very hard to live within that kind of a game plan.
I couldn't agree with you anymore. If you've been following the news and educational circles there, the anti-bullying Bill of Rights came a year ago. This year is the changes in the teacher evaluation system. I think it was the Office of Legislative Services, or one of the groups in the legislature charged with figuring out how much a bill will ultimately cost. When this bill was being debated, put the figure, I believe, at $50 million, and we're not getting $1 for the changes in teacher evaluation, and they're massive in terms of how much we're going to have to change and do come September. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let me move on to the next second question. Has to do with safety and security. There are many ways you can look at this. I'll say right off the bat that most other high schools that I've been in New Jersey have some kind of security in place, and they include neighbors like Madison, Milburn, and others. Mendham, for example, police officer on duty. We're the only high school that I can recall that I've been in New Jersey, having been a high school principal, without any kind of security personnel at all. And I'm not talking about a police officer necessarily, but anyone in the hallway whose job it is to make sure things are in check. We don't have any person in the district who is hired for the sole purpose of keeping an eye on things. So, and one way to kind of slice that or put that into perspective, we have about 4,000 students. We have about 450 employees. We have plenty of parents who are in our buildings on a daily basis. So we have somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 people concentrated in our school buildings every single day during school hours, which, if you think about it, is equivalent to half the population of Chatham Borough. And we don't have a single person whose only responsibility has to do with safety or security. So what we're proposing here in this budget is to change that and to, number one, look at part-time people that we would have at each building, someone who would come in early in the morning and stay until about lunch, and then on a part-time basis, so they wouldn't be carrying benefits. Someone who would come in at about lunchtime and stay until 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that, depending on the school we're talking about. And primarily be a presence at the main entrance, checking visitors in, potentially going out into the parking lot or at the drop-off pickup areas at certain times of the day. Having a radio or walkie-talkie so that they can communicate quickly with the principal, maybe even investing in a communication system so that person would be able to access the police if necessary. These would not be armed people. These would just be folks who would provide us with a presence and a familiarity with routines in the building that we think would be helpful and greatly assist our principals and secretaries who right now are juggling a lot of tasks and having to do the best they can to monitor people who are coming in and out. And then we also, sure. Yep.
Go ahead, Bob.
Just trying to get to like the qualifications of the person to be doing that position. I know what the say of law enforcement personnel, but are there certain minimum requirements that they would, and skill sets that you're looking to hire?
We haven't, written out their job descriptions yet, but yes, there would be, and it wouldn't have to necessarily be a law enforcement, a person with law enforcement experience. We want someone who obviously communicates well with families and parents. We're not looking for, a wannabe Dirty Harry at the front door of Southern Boulevard School. We want someone who interacts well with our community and our parent population and our students. Obviously, all of our employees have to go through a criminal background check and a fingerprinting screening and so forth. They'd be interviewed by the principal, and the principal would probably be looking for qualities that they look for in their teachers or other staff members who they hire. It is possible that we may wind up getting, especially when you go up in grade level and you're closer to the high school, a retired law enforcement official who might want to spend some time interacting with kids and being active during the morning or during the afternoon or what have you. Sure.
What do you want to what you say, and I don't pretend to be an expert on this, but I've done a little bit of reading on it. The concept of an armed law officer in uniform with a gun and what have you, the sense of the outside community or a person who might want to take a crack at a school is a major deterrent. But the other side of it is that presence could have an effect on the students in a way that it is conceived that this is a military type of organization, or it's being run by the police department rather than by the school. To me, the key to this thing is two ways. Number one, the most expensive employees that we have in the town, and it's due to the past history. I'm commenting good, bad, or indifferent, but when a sergeant in the police department gets more than the head of the public works, it shows you that things are a little bit out of whack because of the union that is going on. Now, the next thing is that when you begin to get into this type of pay, you might be able to get, as you suggested, very qualified people who retire that are perfectly capable of handling the situation, armed if not. That's a community decision, I would guess. But the other side of the coin is they may interact a great deal better with the citizens as well, and more importantly with the students.
I think you're raising excellent points. I know a little bit about school resource officers. I've spoken to the chiefs of both communities about this. I'm a huge supporter and proponent of school resource officers. And school resource officers are fully outfitted police officers who are stationed at the schools. We don't have in this budget, we're not calling for one of those individuals. We're